The night Amaka married Tunde, she heard a door breathe. It sounded like a tired animal, slow and deep, inside his bright Lekki mansion. The sound crawled into her bones. She smiled for the cameras, yet her fingers shook. Why would a door breathe? Why would a rich house feel afraid of itself? Everyone called Tunde a dream. He wore white, he gave gifts, he laughed with a calm face that made people trust him. But when the guests left and the generator hummed, Tunde took a black key from his pocket and locked a black door at the end of the hall. Never open this, he said, soft, like a lover, firm, like a guard. It is for your safety. Amaka nodded, but her heart burned. Safety from what? From who? From her? The house smelled like new paint and old secrets. Outside, the lagoon slept. Inside, the wall clock ticked too loud. She told herself, be a good wife. She told herself, don't ask. But the door breathed again, and the air turned cold. She lay awake till dawn and counted the breaths 1, 2, 3, while the key flashed like a small dark moon in his hand. Days in Tunde's world moved fast, like Danfo buses on Third Mainland Bridge. There were drivers, cooks, guards, and fresh flowers each morning. There were people who bowed when Tunde spoke. There were phone calls that stopped when Amaka walked in. He called her queen. He bought her a red car. He filled her wardrobe with silk dresses. He smiled and said, you will never lack. She smiled back, but the mansion had two faces, one in bright day, one in heavy night. At night, the black door took the house by the throat. Tunde locked it at 9 p.m., always. He kept the key on a silver chain. He slept with the chain under his pillow. Sometimes Amaka smelled iron, strong and sharp, like a cut finger. Sometimes she found tiny brown dots on the tiles, small as ants, but not ants. Old pipes, Tunde would say when the taps groaned. Leave it to me. Amaka made friends with the cook, Mama Kemi, who told soft stories while stirring soup. Oga is kind, she said, eyes low. Oga is strict. Strict about what? Amaka asked. The door, Mama Kemi whispered as if the wood could hear. Some doors are not for wives. Tunde liked neat things. Shirts ironed flat, slippers placed straight, plans lined like soldiers. He never shouted. He never forgot a date. He never left a glass out of place. But his smile had edges. If you watched too long, the edges cut. He told Amaka he grew up poor and swore to never be poor again. He worked and worked. And now he owned buildings. He gave to church. He gave to schools. People praised him. Amaka tried to believe the praises. But often she woke at 3 a.m. to the sound of whispers, not voices, whispers like air rubbing against secrets. She'd sit up and see Tunde's side of the bed empty. She'd tiptoe down the hall and find him standing by the black door, his head bowed, the keychain in his fist, like a prayer gone wrong. When he caught her, he would only touch her cheek and say, bad dreams? Yes, she'd say. Then sleep, he'd answer, and the key would slip back under his pillow like a snake going home. That smile again, soft, sweet, with edges, and Amaka thought, if a smile can cut, what can a secret do? One Saturday, Amaka went to Lekki market for fabrics. The sun was hot. Hawkers called out. Pepper piles glowed red like small fires. A woman selling beads looked up and froze when she saw Amaka's face. You, the woman said, voice thin. You look like. She stopped, eyes glassy, then shook her head. No, sorry. Like who? Amaka asked. The woman pulled a folded paper from under her tray. Old newspaper, faded ink. The headline spoke of a missing woman from years ago. The photo showed a smile that could be Amaka's twin. Same eyes, same jaw. Amaka's stomach sank. Where did you get this? The woman glanced around. People come and go. Men with money. Girls who like gold. Be careful. A tear slipped before Amaka could stop it. She bought the beads just to leave fast. But the whisper followed her. Be careful. Back home, Tunde kissed her forehead and asked about her day. She smiled and said, fine. But that night she dreamed of 5 faces with her face, all pressed behind glass. She woke with her heart kicking her ribs and the black door humming low, like a generator in the rain. Amaka's mother gave her a small gold bracelet on the wedding day. For joy, her mother said. For strength, Amaka kept it in a white box. One morning, the box was empty. She searched drawers, bags, the car, the bathroom, nothing. Tunde, she said at breakfast, voice steady. My bracelet is missing. He looked up, surprised just enough. Did you misplace it? No. He wiped his mouth and called the head guard. We will check the cameras. They checked. The cameras showed nothing. At midnight, a power cut had made the screens black for 10 minutes. Nepa, the guard muttered, ashamed. Tunde patted Amaka's hand. We'll find it. But they didn't. And that night, the iron smell grew thick. Amaka stood at the dark hall and watched the key in Tunde's hand as he locked the black door. The key looked like a promise he never planned to keep. She walked back to bed and told herself a simple hard thing. If he keeps secrets from me, I will take secrets from him. She placed a hairpin under the rug by the door. When he slept, she would try the lock. She had small hands. She had strong fear. She also had a will like a fist. At 2:47 a.m., Tunde's breath went deep and slow. The chain under his pillow made a tiny chime when he turned. Amaka slid from bed, barefoot, a shadow inside a bigger shadow. The hall felt longer at night. The black door stood quiet, but the air near it felt heavy, like rain is coming. She knelt, lifted the rug edge, and took the hairpin. Her fingers trembled, but her mind was dry and clear. She pushed the pin into the keyhole. The metal was cold, like the hand of a stranger. She twisted left, then right, small circles, tiny clicks. Sweat ran down her neck. A long, soft sound came from inside the door, like someone sighing after holding their breath too long. The lock loosened. Just a little. Just enough. She drew the door open by a crack and looked. Dark. Cold. A faint red light, the kind you see behind your eyes. A line of frames on the wall. Faces inside the frames, half lit, half lost. She blinked and almost said a name she didn't know. Then a floorboard creaked behind her. She closed the door fast, pushed the pin back under the rug, and walked to the kitchen as if she wanted water. Tunde's voice came from the dark, soft as a knife. Can't sleep? No, she said, her throat dry. Water? No. Morning came, and with it, bright Lagos noise, horns, calls, the small song of a suya man sharpening his blade. Tunde wore a navy suit and kissed Amaka's forehead. I'll be home late, he said. A meeting. She watched him go and listened as the house changed shape. In daytime, the mansion had a soft heart. Staff laughed in the kitchen. Music played low in the laundry. The black door was just a door. But Amaka now knew it was not just a door. She cleaned the living room to have a reason to walk. She counted steps from the couch to the hall, from the hall to the door. 11, then 8, then 3. She wrote numbers on a small sticky note and hid it in a book. She kept her hands busy and her head awake. Mama Kemi brought puff and tea. You look pale, she said. Bad dreams, Amaka answered. Mama Kemi looked toward the hall. Some dreams are not dreams. Her voice shook. Pray, my child. I have prayed, Amaka said. Now I will act. Outside, clouds gathered. Inside, Amaka drew a simple map of the house in her mind and circled the black door, like a hunter marking a lion's cave. That afternoon, a young guard named Sola knocked on the kitchen door. He spoke fast, eyes not meeting hers. Madam, please, I must talk. Amaka led him to the back garden where hibiscus flowers blazed like small suns. Sola's hands shook. I will lose this job if Oga knows I spoke to you, but I cannot sleep. I have sisters. What have you seen? Amaka asked. Women come, Sola said. They come to see Oga at night. Not many, few. They look like you, madam. Same kind of face. He gives them wine. They do not live the same way they came. Amaka swallowed fire. Did you tell anyone? Sola shook his head. Who will believe me? Oga is powerful. Cameras die when they must die. Doors that should open do not open. He looked toward the hall. I hear things we all hear, but we also like to eat. She put her hand on his arm. Thank you. Madam, he whispered, voice breaking, get a small phone, hide it. If you see something record, give it to police you trust. Not any police, the right one. He left, and the hibiscus seemed to dim. Amaka went inside and felt the house watching her back. That night, Amaka made her move. She hid a tiny phone in her robe pocket, one she bought quietly 2 days ago from a shop where nobody asked names. She waited until 2 a.m. The lock gave way faster this time. The door opened wider, like a mouth used to swallowing. She stepped in. Cold wrapped her. The faint red light came from a small lamp on a desk. The walls were lined with frames. She walked closer. The first frame held the face from the market paper. The caption was a single first name and a year. The next frame, another face, different, yet close enough to be her cousin. Then another. Then another. 5 faces, 5 names, 5 years. A glass case stood in the corner. Inside lay items, a gold bracelet like hers, a scarf, a ring, a ribbon, a small Bible. Trophies. The room smelled like metal and bleach. Amaka's breath turned small. She lifted her phone. She filmed slow, steady, her heart thudding. Her hand brushed the glass case. The iron smell rose, strong enough to taste. Behind her, a floorboard sang. She spun around. Tunde stood at the door, the silver chain wrapped around his fingers like a snake he loved. He smiled, not sweet now, just the edges. Amaka, Tunde said, stepping inside. The door clicked shut behind him. You should not be here. Her phone hid in her robe pocket, still recording. She tried to keep her face calm. Who are they? She asked, voice low, steady. Who are these women? He looked at the frames with a fondness that made her sick. Lonely people, he said. People who wanted what you have. People who begged to be seen. And you saw them, she said. I helped them, he answered. His eyes were bright and wrong. I gave them peace. Amaka's skin went cold. Where are they? He tilted his head, like a teacher testing a child. Curiosity is a sharp knife, my love. Do not cut yourself. He reached for her face. She stepped back. The smile faded. The edges grew teeth. Do not open this room again, he said. You are safe as long as you obey. He touched the glass case, then the lamp, and the red glow died. He opened the door and stood aside for her to leave, like a gentleman at a gate. She walked past him, every step a prayer that he did not hear her phone whispering in her pocket, recording, recording, recording. Morning brought bright light and false peace. Tunde made pancakes and fed a stray cat at the gate. He kissed Amaka's cheek as if nothing had happened. But a wall had risen in her chest, a wall that said no more. She called her friend David, a journalist from church, and spoke in simple code. The house is not safe, she said. The door is real. Do you have proof? He asked. I have more than proof, she said. I have names. David breathed out. Bring it to me. Not today. He will watch you today. Give it 2 days. I will set the right ears. 2 days felt like 2 years. Amaka moved like a dancer on a thin rope. She smiled when she must. She stayed near people when possible. She never turned her back to the hall. That night, she hid the phone under a loose board in the guest room. The next night, she hid a copy in her hair bonnet. If he takes one, she told herself, the other will leave. The wall in her chest held firm. It did not let fear through. It did not let hope out. It kept her steady until the hour to strike. The third night, Amaka planned to sleep out and meet David by a pharmacy on Admiralty Way. She wore a simple dress and flat shoes. She tucked the phone copy in her bra. She told Mama Kemi, if Tunde asks, I am feeling sick. But as she reached the front door, the alarm beeped. Tunde's voice floated from the living room. Going somewhere? She turned. He sat in the dark, phone screen lighting his face from below. He looked like a man telling stories to fire. I thought you were resting, she said. He stood up slow. I worry when my queen walks at night. He walked toward her. The house felt like it leaned in too. Come, he said, and took her hand. Let's pray. He led her to the dining table, placed a Bible between them, and began to speak soft words. His words were right, his eyes were wrong. Then he stopped, tilted his head, and reached toward her hair. He pulled a single loose thread from her scarf. Your ribbon has a cut, he said. Be careful, things fall apart when we do not tie them well. She smiled a thin smile. I will tie it well. Inside, she tied her courage tighter than any ribbon. At dawn, Sola slipped a small note under Amaka's door. Tonight, 11:30, Gatehouse. She burned the note over the sink and memorized the time. All day she felt eyes. The black door was silent, but silence can shout. At 11:25, she walked to the kitchen for water, then drifted to the backyard like a leaf. The gatehouse was a little room with a fan that clicked in a tired way. Sola sat there with a cap pulled low. He handed her a small flash drive. Use this with your friend, he whispered. I copied what I could from old drives. Not all, but enough. I found names, dates, payments to unknown accounts. How? She breathed. I like to eat, he repeated quietly, but I also like to sleep. My sisters must be safe. Footsteps sounded on gravel. Sola's eyes widened. Go, he said. Amaka slipped out the back path and into the dark side street where the generator noise covered her breath. She tucked the flash beside the phone. Now she had proof in two hands. Proof like fire, proof like rope. Proof that could pull monsters into the light. The next day, Tunde left early. Amaka stood before the bedroom mirror and saw a crack she had not seen before. A thin line splitting her face into two halves. Maybe it was in the glass. Maybe it was in her life. Her phone buzzed. David's message. Tonight, 9 p.m. pharmacy. Come with no car. Wear a cap. At 8:40, Amaka told Mama Kemi, I need Panadol. She took a small bag and walked out the side gate while the driver washed the car, splashing water like rain. She kept to lit streets. She kept her head down. At the pharmacy, David waited in a hoodie, face half hidden, eyes kind. He took the flash drive and the phone, copied the files to his own device, and handed back new copies. 2 officers will come tomorrow, he said, naming people she knew from church, clean men, steady eyes, stay calm, do not let him guess. If he smells it, he will move fast. Amaka nodded. He moves like a cat, she said. Then we will move like the wind, David answered. Amaka walked home with the city lights blinking like warnings and promises. The mirror in her chest kept its crack wide now, yet holding. When night dropped again, Tunde was already home, barefoot, wine glass in hand, music low. You look tired, he said. I went to the salon, she lied. He nodded, eyes soft, edges sharp. You should rest. Tonight is important. Important how? He swirled the wine. The red looked like a smile that was bleeding. A friend is visiting. Amaka's back went cold. At this hour? Some friends are night people, he said. He took her hand and led her to the hall. He stopped at the black door. He lifted the chain. He looked at her face as if reading a book he had almost finished. Obey me, he said, very gentle. Stay in the room. Do not come out. He locked the door and walked away. Amaka went to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. She thought of the 5 names under the frames. Ghost names stuck in wood. She thought of her mother's bracelet now in a glass case. She thought of Tunde's clean hands that felt dirty. She stood up. She chose not to obey. She chose to breathe like a storm. The house was a held breath. A car door shut outside. Footsteps. A woman's laugh, soft and unsure. Tunde's voice, warm honey over stones. Welcome. Amaka moved fast and silent, bare feet on cool tiles. She slipped to the end of the hall and pressed her ear to the wall near the black door. She didn't need to see to know. She could hear the lamp click. She could hear the room swallow light. Her hand shook as she unlocked the small side panel she had found yesterday, a narrow duct near the skirting. She had a plan. She slid her second tiny phone inside, lens facing the room, and hit record. Tunde spoke gently, like a pastor. You are safe here, he told the woman. Tell me your pain. The woman began to cry. Her voice was young. She had come for help. Amaka bit her lip till it bled. She wanted to shout, to break the door, to grab the stranger and run. But the police needed the full truth. They needed the act, the pattern, the proof. She stood there, shaking, and let the phone see what her eyes could not bear to see. Dawn found Tunde calm and kind, making eggs, humming an old song. The woman was gone. The black door was clean and quiet, like a mouth washed after a lie. At 8:15 a.m., a knock came. Two officers stood outside men from church, faces steady. David was with them, eyes tired, jaws set. Good morning, sir, the taller officer said. We need to ask about a missing woman. Tunde smiled. Of course, come in. They sat there, they asked soft questions that were hooks. Tunde answered with smooth words. Then David placed a small speaker on the table and pressed play. The room filled with last night's truth. Tunde's voice, the girl's sob, the click of a lamp, the scrape of a glass case. Tunde's smile dropped like a mask from a bad actor. He looked at Amaka. She met his eyes and did not blink. You, he said, a whisper that hated. Sirens grew outside, loud and sure. More officers entered. Hands reached for Tunde. He did not fight. He looked at the black door, then at Amaka, and said in a voice like a curse and a prayer mist, You should have obeyed. She stood, spine straight as a street light, and said, You should have loved. They led Tunde away, but the black door was not done. The officers opened it. The red lamp lit the frames. The glass case gleamed. The room sighed like an old beast finally seen. Amaka stepped inside, slow. She reached for the case and saw something new she had missed. A printed email under the bracelet. It was from weeks ago. The sender was Amaka. The subject, test. The body, this is the proof. Move on him the night he takes another. Davy's eyes widened. You sent this? Amaka nodded. 3 weeks ago, to a safe mailbox. I needed a trail. She turned to the officers. I did not just find his secret last night. I found it weeks ago. Her voice shook, then steadied. I lived beside a storm and built a boat in the dark. They stared, amazed. The twist was simple. Amaka had never been his prey. Not after the first breath of that door. She had become the hunter. She had turned fear into a plan, and the plan into chains on his wrists. She looked at the frames and whispered each ghost name, as if waking them from sleep. News moved quick in Lagos. By evening, screens lit with Tunde's face. People gasped, people argued, people said, I always knew, and people said, I never guessed. Amaka stayed at her mother's small flat in Surulere. The rooms were plain, but they breathed easy. The generator hum felt friendly here. Neighbors knocked with food. Mama Kemi called to cry and pray. Sola sent a text. Thank you. My sister sleep well tonight. Amaka sat by the window and watched the streets. A boy kicked a ball. A woman sold puff-puff. Life, stubborn and sweet, kept going. She thought of love and how love should make a house warm, not cold. She thought of wealth and how money can buy walls but not peace. She thought of herself and how she had grown a new spine inside an old dress. David came by with papers for her to sign and a bag of jollof from his mother. You were brave, he said. I was scared, she answered. Brave is scared that stands, he said. She ate a spoon of rice and let the pepper burn away the last of the night. Weeks later, Amaka returned to the mansion with the officers. The black door had been taken off its hinges. The room was now evidence, not a shrine. The frames were gone to cold shelves, where truths sit and wait for court. Amaka stood in the hall where she once counted breaths. She could hear only morning birds and a far car horn. No whispers, no iron smell, no chain sliding under a pillow. She walked to the balcony and looked over the city Lagos, wild and alive, messy and bright, a place that eats the weak and feeds the strong, a place that asks you to choose who you are. She took out her mother's bracelet, returned by the police, and clasped it around her wrist. The gold felt warm this time, not as a trophy, but as a promise. She whispered to the wind, to the women in frames, to every girl who has ever stood before a locked door. Do not bow to the dark. Ask your hard questions. Keep your proof. Keep your life. Then she turned, walked out of the house with her head high, and stepped into the street like a drum beat, steady, proud, free. The sirens were gone, the city breathed, and so did she. No secret stays buried forever. Evil may wear fine clothes, smile sweetly, and drive the best cars, but truth walks barefoot and still finds its way to light. Amaka's story teaches us that silence can be a prison, and curiosity, when guided by courage, can be salvation. She reminds us that love without honesty is just a cage with gold walls. And above all, it shows that no matter how powerful, darkness seems one brave voice, one act of courage can end it all. If you ever feel trapped in a relationship that hides more than it reveals, listen to your instincts. Don't let wealth, charm, or fear silence your voice. Speak up, ask questions, protect yourself. There is no luxury worth your peace, no love worth your life. Share this story to remind someone that freedom begins the moment you stop pretending everything is fine.